Did you know that the average person spends over 60% of their waking hours communicating, but we actually remember less than half of what we hear? Crazy, right? This shows just how rare and powerful true listening really is. In a world drowning in noise and distractions, mastering active listening isn't just a skill. It's a game changer for everything from building meaningful relationships to boosting your career and personal growth. So, what exactly makes someone a great listener? How can tuning in more deeply help you avoid misunderstandings, become a better leader, or even spark creativity? In this write-up, we're diving into 7 key habits that transform how you listen.
Visualization that's been shown of this. Can I show this?
Covering everything from showing genuine curiosity and managing distractions to reading non-verbal cues and reflecting back what you hear. Ready to level up your communication and connect like never before? Let's get into it. In a world buzzing with distractions, the simple act of truly listening has become a rare gift. Yet it holds transformative power. When you listen deeply to someone, you're doing more than hearing words. You're validating their existence. Without saying much, your presence communicates. You matter. Your thoughts matter. Your feelings matter. This kind of attentive listening forms the bedrock of trust and emotional safety, turning surface-level exchanges into genuine, life-affirming relationships. Visualize a child sharing their thoughts with an attentive parent, friends exchanging secrets under a starlit sky, or a therapist silently holding space for a client. All of these moments are rooted in empathy, expressed through listening. Subtle nonverbal cues, a nod, a soft gaze, open posture, convey volumes, letting the other person know they're truly seen and heard. Philosopher William James once said, "The deepest human need is the craving to be appreciated." This isn't just poetic, it's psychological truth. David Augsburger, a theologian and counselor, deepens this idea with his striking observation. Being heard is so close to being loved that for the average person, they are almost indistinguishable. Active listening, then, is a form of love, a quiet but powerful one. Research backs this up. The International Listening Association found that 85% of people believe active listening strengthens personal relationships, while workplace studies show that 80% of employees feel more valued when their ideas are acknowledged. In romantic and family contexts, studies from the Journal of Social and Personal Relationships indicate that couples who adopt listening strategies improve relationship quality by up to 70%, particularly when navigating conflict. Carl Rogers, the humanistic psychologist known for revolutionizing therapy, emphasized the importance of unconditional, positive regard, a form of listening without judgment. His pioneering work revealed that real healing begins not when someone is fixed, but when they're deeply understood. In therapy sessions, Rogers found that simply being listened to with empathy and acceptance enabled people to discover their true selves and grow. This dynamic applies far beyond therapy rooms. Imagine a teenager struggling with self-doubt, pouring their heart out to a parent. If the parent listens, really listens, without trying to fix things, that act alone can create a turning point. In being heard, the teen starts to feel capable again, not because someone solved their problems, but because someone believed they were worth listening to. This brings us to a deeper philosophical layer: intersubjectivity, a concept that suggests we understand ourselves not in isolation, but in relation to others. Our identity is shaped by how others engage with us. When we are deeply listened to, we're not only affirmed, we're formed. the listener helps co-create our sense of self. Visualize two overlapping circles representing two people. As empathy deepens, those circles blend into a more vibrant, shared shape. Listening, in this sense, becomes sacred. It binds souls, heals wounds, and reminds us that at the core of it all, we just want to be known. In the realm of true leadership, listening isn't passive. It's power in its purest form. Picture this. One side of the screen shows a boss lecturing from behind a desk while employees disengage. Cut to the other side, and you see a leader sitting in a circle with their team, maintaining eye contact, nodding, and listening with genuine interest. The atmosphere is completely different, collaborative, energized, and trust-filled. This is the silent superpower of active listening. Whether you're leading a boardroom, a classroom, or a grassroots movement, people don't follow commands. They follow connection. And that connection is built not just by what you say, but how well you hear. As the Dalai Lama once said, "When you talk, you are only repeating what you already know. But if you listen, you may learn something new." That learning is the gateway to real influence. Peter Drucker reinforced this with a timeless insight. The most important thing in communication is hearing what isn't said. Leadership that endures is leadership that listens, because only through understanding unspoken fears, hidden motivations, and quiet insights can you inspire loyalty, uncover innovation, and command true respect. According to Gallup, organizations with leaders seen as good listeners enjoy 30% higher employee engagement and significantly reduced turnover, a statistic that reflects just how foundational listening is to lasting impact. Simon Sinek's acclaimed work, Leaders Eat Last, reinforces this idea. He explains how great leaders create a circle of safety, a space of trust that allows teams to thrive. This trust doesn't come from charisma or authority alone. It comes from deeply listening to those you serve. Just look at Mary Barra, CEO of General Motors. During GM's ignition switch crisis, she didn't rush to damage control. Instead, she listened intently to engineers, employees, customers, and victims' families. That act of listening revealed the cultural and systemic flaws behind the crisis, empowering her to lead transformational reform in GM's safety protocols and rebuild trust from the ground up. Another profound example is Cesar Chavez, the iconic labor rights activist. His influence wasn't born from rallies or headlines alone, but from countless hours spent walking the fields, sitting at kitchen tables, listening to the migrant workers' stories, pain, and aspirations. Through that deep listening, he gave voice to the voiceless and led a movement that changed labor rights in America forever. The art of conversation is the art of hearing as well as of being heard, said essayist William Hazlitt. And in that art lies the essence of leadership, where influence is not asserted, but earned through empathy, presence, and unwavering attentiveness. True innovation doesn't erupt from a vacuum. It blossoms in environments where voices are heard, ideas collide, and assumptions are courageously challenged. Picture a vibrant brainstorming room. Diverse minds sketching, sticking notes on walls, and one empathetic leader listening intently, drawing out the quieter voices. This isn't just about hearing input. It's about uncovering insights others miss. As the voiceover would put it, innovation rarely springs from a single mind. It thrives in the fertile ground of collaborative intelligence, where diverse perspectives converge, silent pain points are uncovered, and breakthrough solutions emerge. Not from speaking louder, but from listening deeper. Throughout history and across industries, we've seen this principle in action. Take IDEO, the legendary design thinking firm. Their process hinges on empathetic observation, listening deeply to users' unspoken needs, not just their surface complaints. That's how they designed everything from intuitive medical devices to the original Apple mouse. Their approach proves that listening is not passive. It's a radical, creative force. It's echoed in stories like the evolution of the MRI machine, where engineers only truly innovated when they listened to patients' fears of claustrophobia and noise. That empathy inspired open MRI designs, calming visuals, and shorter scan durations. Innovation at its core is empathy in action. Research backs this up. Google's Project Aristotle revealed that teams with high psychological safety, fueled by inclusive listening, are twice as likely to produce breakthrough ideas. Forrester studies show that companies who actively listen to customer feedback enjoy 25% higher annual revenue growth. These aren't just feel-good stats, they're hard business outcomes. Listening isn't soft, it's strategic. As medieval philosopher Peter Abelard put it, the key to wisdom is this: constant and frequent questioning. Active listening is the beginning of that inquiry, where wisdom and innovation intersect. And sometimes the most powerful breakthroughs happen not in a lab or boardroom, but in everyday conversations. Like when a friend listens deeply as you untangle a complex problem, and suddenly, just by being heard, the solution unfolds. Or in software development, where agile methodology revolves around continuous user feedback. The result? Products that actually solve real problems because someone took the time to really listen. As Stephen Covey wisely observed, most people do not listen with the intent to understand, they listen with the intent to reply. But leaders, innovators, and problem solvers know better. They know that the quiet act of listening can ignite the loudest, most lasting change. In a world drowning in information and distractions, the ability to discern what truly matters has become one of the most underrated superpowers, and that superpower begins with listening. Not passive hearing, but active, intentional listening. Picture a chess master scanning the board, not just planning the next move, but reading the opponent's micro-reactions. Or a seasoned doctor, patiently absorbing every detail of a patient's symptoms before diagnosing what others might miss. Listening in these moments isn't just a courtesy, it's a life or death skill. Whether it's a pilot tuned into every subtle sound before takeoff, or a lawyer catching a critical contradiction in a witness's tone, active listening transforms scattered noise into meaningful strategy. As Terry Pratchett once said, wisdom comes from experience. Experience is often a result of lack of wisdom. In other words, many of our worst mistakes could have been avoided had we listened. Really listened. Daniel Kahneman's groundbreaking book, Thinking Fast and Slow, explains how our brains often default to mental shortcuts, called cognitive biases, like confirmation bias or anchoring. When we listen poorly, we fall right into these traps, hearing only what confirms our beliefs, ignoring key facts, and rushing to conclusions. But active listening slows us down. It counters bias. It lets the truth shape our decisions, rather than forcing reality to fit our preconceptions. The numbers back this up. Research from McKinsey shows that companies with leaders who actively listen and synthesize diverse viewpoints see 20% more successful initiatives and 15% fewer project failures. In healthcare, where the stakes are literally life and death, up to 80% of serious medical errors stem from poor communication, often rooted in bad listening. The message is clear. The price of not listening isn't just inefficiency, it's failure, harm, and regret. Listening isn't just about being polite, it's about preventing the unthinkable. Even in business, failure often comes from ignoring the signals. Blockbuster dismissed early signs that customers hated late fees and craved convenience. On a personal level, imagine you're making a major financial decision. Are you truly listening to what's not being said? The evasive answers, the fine print, the skeptical voices in the background. That kind of listening, the analytical, humble, ego-free kind, is what saves us from costly mistakes and leads to smart, strategic choices. In the noise of modern life, listening isn't just useful, it's essential. Much of the world's tension, whether in relationships, workplaces, or even global affairs, stems from one deeply human desire: the need to be truly heard. Active listening is more than a communication tool. It's a transformative act of empathy. Like a gentle hand calming ripples on water, it disarms anger, dissolves tension, and builds bridges where there once were barriers. Visualize this. Two people, mid-argument, voices rising, until one pauses, breathes, and listens. In that moment, something shifts. Shoulders relax, anger fades, and a real conversation begins. Philosophically, this echoes the teachings of Stoicism, which emphasizes mastering our reactions and striving to understand others rather than control them. As Marcus Aurelius reminds us, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Active listening is a living expression of that principle. It's not passive, it's disciplined. It demands presence, the suspension of judgment, and the humility to receive rather than react. In doing so, we become less emotionally reactive, more grounded, and more capable of engaging conflict with insight instead of impulse. Picture a serene philosopher seated calmly while chaos unfolds around him. His composure rooted not in avoidance, but in the inner peace that listening and reflection provide. Research backs this up profoundly. According to Harvard Business Review, workplaces that prioritize active listening report a 40% drop in interpersonal conflicts and a 25% rise in team cohesion. On a personal level, people who feel consistently unheard in relationships show elevated cortisol levels and increased anxiety. Meanwhile, those who feel heard report significantly lower stress and improved emotional regulation. Experts like Dr. John Gottman have shown that conflict resolution in marriages often hinges not on brilliant solutions, but on simple, attentive listening. His concept of bidding for connection, turning toward, rather than away from, a partner's emotional expression, is a powerful defense against emotional breakdowns. Listening, quite literally, protects peace. Real-life scenarios show this in action. In community mediation centers, mediators don't impose solutions, they listen. In customer service, the best representatives don't just solve problems, they reflect emotions. I hear how frustrating this must be for you. That validation often turns fury into gratitude. And in personal relationships, a parent pausing to say, "Tell me what you're feeling, I'm listening," can turn a shouting match with a teenager into a breakthrough. As Gandhi said, an eye for an eye makes the whole world blind. But an open ear, that just might heal it. When we think of learning, we often imagine textbooks, classrooms, and lectures. But in truth, Some of life's most transformative lessons come not from what we read, but from what we hear, deeply and intentionally. Every conversation, every interaction, and every shared story is more than just sound. It's an open door to deeper understanding. Visualize a closed book slowly opening, its pages fluttering as ideas take flight and enter the mind. This is what listening does for us. Whether it's a student fully engaged in a lecture, someone carefully observing a mentor's words, or a curious soul learning a new skill, it's active listening, not just passive hearing, that ignites personal evolution. As Stephen Covey famously emphasized in The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, true growth begins with seeking first to understand, then to be understood. This habit isn't merely about improving communication. It's about reshaping your mental model, integrating new insights, and embracing a broader worldview. Philosophically, it ties back to that eternal maxim: know thyself. But Socrates didn't mean locking yourself away and meditating in silence. Self-awareness is often born through contrast, hearing others' perspectives, learning from their journeys, and recognizing yourself in their experiences. A mentor's wisdom, a friend's heartbreak, even a stranger's quiet resilience. These become mirrors reflecting parts of you that were hidden or unformed. Listening becomes a way to encounter yourself, not in isolation, but in the rich tapestry of human experience. Consider real-life examples. Malala. Yousafzai didn't rise to global prominence simply because she spoke, but because she listened first. Her advocacy for education was fueled by absorbing the unheard stories of girls across the world. Or, picture a young professional, stuck and uninspired, who seeks guidance from a mentor. Instead of interrupting or chasing quick tips, they listen deeply to the mentor's experiences, failures, and hard-earned lessons. This attentive listening becomes the very thing that propels them forward. Even in learning a new language or culture, it's not rote memorization that leads to fluency, but listening to native rhythms, tone, and context. By opening ourselves to others, truly hearing them, we don't just become more knowledgeable. We become wiser, more empathetic, and profoundly more human. Active listening isn't just a personal virtue, it's a radical tool for justice. At its core, it transforms passive hearing into purposeful attention, especially toward those whose voices have long been ignored. Imagine a flickering candle in the dark. Alone, it offers little warmth. But when joined by others, it becomes a blaze of hope. That's what happens when individuals begin truly listening to the unheard, when grassroots activists sit humbly before community elders, when journalists lean in with curiosity rather than assumptions, when a volunteer kneels to listen, eye to eye, with someone experiencing homelessness. These moments spark change because they restore dignity and recognition. And when communities unite behind the exact words of the people, not slogans but truths, they don't just demand change, they embody it. The power of listening has echoed through history's most profound social movements. The Montgomery bus boycott wasn't sustained for 381 days just by speeches. It endured because civil rights leaders like Dr. King held mass meetings and listened deeply to the Black community's grievances, pain, and hopes. Modern participatory governance also showcases how listening fuels equity. In New York City and beyond, participatory budgeting allows ordinary citizens, especially from historically marginalized neighborhoods, to influence how millions in public funds are spent. City officials don't merely consult them, they convene, listen, and co-create. The result? Increased community ownership, better targeted services, and deeper democratic trust. It proves what Barack Obama once said. To be a good listener, you must be a good questioner, and you must have some curiosity. Listening isn't passive, it's revolutionary. Academic research backs this up. Studies show that empathy, especially cognitive empathy developed through active listening, drives pro-social behavior. When we truly understand others' pain, especially those silenced by systemic injustice, we are compelled to act. As Martin Luther King Jr. once warned, a riot is the language of the unheard. And as Nelson Mandela reminded us, true leadership means listening to the dreams and grievances of the people. In a world that often rewards the loudest voices, we forget the quiet power of listening, the kind that doesn't interrupt, doesn't judge, but seeks to truly understand. This is more than communication. It's a philosophy of connection. As the noise fades and the chaos settles, what remains is the simple, transformative truth. Every human being wants to be heard. When you choose to become an active listener, you're not just changing your relationships. You're reshaping the world, one moment of empathy at a time. Start today. Listen to understand. Because in the silence between words, the unheard revolution begins.